I'm on YouTube right now. Oh gosh.
That's okay.
Hey, Connor, make sure you close the
But
door.
we're
Okay, bud?
live now.
This is the pre-show. Here we go. It starts with Connor bugging me. Perfect. I love it.
Oh, well, Rory's dad is my Connor.
Oh man, we got Connors all around.
Yeah, Connor's all around.
Was that when you had your Connor? Was it like it was a pretty new name, right? And not a new name, but like it wasn't as common then.
It wasn't common. We actually checked. One boy had been called Connor in BC the year before.
Okay.
Wow.
The number of Connors, and not only that, the number of Connors and Liams we've run into over the years is, well, you know, being a Geordie, we needed good Irish names. So.
Yep. Did you did I tell you the story of when we named Liam?
No.
Like Justine and I, you know, if you make a Venn diagram of names that people that we like for kids, like the overlap is very small.
Yeah.
It's very actually, and it's the same for TV shows and movies and music. Everything. Our tastes in everything except for food. Which is why we eat a lot.
There you go.
But the overlap is so small. So like when we named Connor, that was like there was no deliberation really, because that was the one name that we were both like really on board for. And then we had another boy. And we were like, and we didn't want to, so Liam was our front runner, but it was the most popular that year. It was the most popular name,
right? Yeah.
And we're like, there's gonna be so many Liams. But anyways, Liam was born, you know, like late at night. We were up all night, and then the next morning the grandparents were coming to meet him, and we were like, we want him to have a name when they meet him. And so we had been going back and forth for weeks in like intense debate.
Yes.
And then it got to like 8 a.m., you know, the day after, the night when he was born. And I'm like, look, should we just name him Liam? And Justine's like, yeah, fine. And that's like, it was so like such a middle child thing.
Yeah.
You know, like just, okay, fine. His name's Liam. The first one we like really were very deliberate with. Second one.
Right, yeah.
Write something down on the birth certificate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Rory's name came about very much like that, because there was not everything that Cassidy said. Connor went, no. And then I'd actually said at one point, because Megan was going to be Rory if she'd been a boy. And so I said that, and Cassidy was like, oh, I really like that name. And Connor's like, well, it's not bad. And he still wasn't named. And then he was the first baby born in the week in Port Alberni that week, and so he was baby of the week. Oh. And the newspaper was coming to, you know, interview them and take a picture, so they had to have a name. And so Rory got his name. Yeah, it's Port Alberni.
Yeah,
they need some news to fill up the paper. Yeah, he got all kinds of
baby was born.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he got all kinds of prizes, gift baskets, and gift certificates.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
See, these are the perks of living in a small town.
Yeah.
Wow. How many people are in Port Alberni? What's the population?
Oh, that's a good question.
I can search it up. That's where my dad was born.
What the population of Port Alberni is.
Like, I think
it probably also depends on 17,000 in 2016. Probably also depends on how big of a radius you draw around Port Alberni. Right.
Because if you there's lots of things in Port Alberni, for example, that you can't get out in Tofino or Ucluelet. So
more people come through town.
So if you live out in Tofino and Ucluelet, then, you know, Port Alberni is the big city.
Yep.
Wow. So it's 1/10 of Langley.
Yeah. It's about the same size of Aldergrove.
Yeah.
And that's the big town in the area.
Oh yeah, it's the big town out
I
there.
love. Oh, I won't say that.
The West Coast.
There's one store in Port Alberni that I really love that you drive past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't say it on the air?
I mean, I'll say it. It's the pot store.
Oh, Cassidy and I were just talking. We're gonna go there today. It's not what you think.
It's literal pots, Dave. But it's called
Like gardening pots.
Yeah. But it's like that was just always the.
I giggle every time I see that sign.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
The pot store.
The number of people who must walk in there and be disappointed.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, it's also like, I mean, you can see the pots from outside. Pretty quickly, you understand the joke.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can remember as a youth, like that would be like the big youth group, like because we'd go to Port Alberni or like Sprout Lake for a weekend camping trip or something. And like as youth kids, like we thought it was so funny to joke like, oh, let's take the youth bus to the pot store. that was the big joke. Such cool.
Hey, it's island. It's the island. Like
Yeah.
we're easily entertained over here.
Yeah.
See this? You see we have this comment from Darlene?
Yeah.
Liam.
Sure. What's the show that had a thing with the third Hemsworth brother?
What's the Can I Google that? What's the show that had the thing with the third?
Oh, it was The Good Place.
I just want to see what result comes up if I type in your exact question.
Because Luke Hemsworth.
Luke.
The Good Place did a thing where Luke Hemsworth was like the less successful or the least famous of the three Hemsworth boys.
Also happens to be the shortest by a significant amount.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Is he? What's the birth order there? Luke Hemsworth. No one knows.
Anyway.
That's okay.
Oh, and he is an actor. All three of them are actors. Wow.
He's the eldest brother.
Okay.
Luke.
Yeah.
Going back to names, just bringing it back there. When I graduated, I had 12 Sarahs in my class, but like in my grad class. But I think there was six different spellings of Sarah.
No.
Yeah, we had S-A-R-A-H, S-A-R-A, we had a C-E-R-A, we had
You did not have a C-E-R-A.
Oh yeah, we had S-A-R-R-A-H, we had an S-E-R-R-A-H.
Stop.
I can't remember if there was an H on that one, but there were so many different spellings of Sarah.
That is, wow.
But all pronounced the same. My debate partner and my rowing partner, same person, was also named Sarah. So we rowed a pair, which is when you have one scull, like one boat, and you each have one oar. So you really trust each other, and it's called a pair. And so we were known as the Squara Para.
Ah, good one.
We didn't come up with that name.
I'm really stressed out about the multiple Sarah
Spellings?
spellings. Oh man. Why?
I grew up thinking, like, I would introduce myself as, hi, I'm Sarah with an H. And so people regularly, because people would always ask me, oh, like, are you Sarah with an H? And so I would start introducing myself as Sarah with an H. And for some reason, so often, people just assumed that my last initial was H. And so I have a number of, like, pieces of artwork and different things that would be written S-A-R-A space capital H period. Sarah with an H, interpreted as H is my last initial. Do you have how many Liams and Connors are in their classes?
Honestly, I don't think we've had an overlap yet. We're still early on.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know what? Connor's year at elementary school seems to have a lot of girls. Like there's not that many guys, and so make of that what you will. Seemed like at South Langley there was a boom of baby boys, and now we've moved on to girls. It's weird how it seems to have come in waves.
It does. It like, as somebody who works in children's ministry, it does come in waves. I have like, unless you get to a bigger church, like almost always for churches with like less than 60 kids, you see a noticeable like trend coming through. I don't know what it is.
Probably just I think if you flipped a coin, you would wind up with clusters like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's just it's never gonna be perfectly 50-50.
Well, yeah, like true randomness.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember like having the iPod shuffle? And I don't know if you guys ever had the iPod shuffle, and you'd get so mad because you'd be like, this song always plays, or like, there's been this artist 3 songs in a row. That's so annoying. But that's like what actually like true randomness is. So then I believe Apple actually built like an algorithm for simulated randomness, identifying that like humans don't actually like true randomness.
I know I do not like my shuffle on my Google Music.
Just doesn't feel nice
together. And it's probably that reason. It's probably truly random, and so.
Sarah, true or false? This is the second week in a row we've talked about the iPod Shuffle.
Probably. It's very prominent in my life right now.
In your life right now?
The girls that I work with, they still have the iPod. It's not a shuffle. It's like a first generation, one of the first ones with the screen. They still bring it out every day and are absolutely flabbergasted by it. Just yesterday, one of them was like, I still can't get over that doesn't have speakers in it. Like, in her little, like, 7-year-old, she's like, I just can't believe it.
Girl, you don't even know.
I know. I showed her I was just gonna say, I showed her a picture of my old like Nokia, whatever it was, the one that had like Snake on it, and I was like, yeah, these screens, they were only like this weird like greenish gray color and then black text. And she's like, well, how did you take a picture? I was like, you didn't.
You had a camera for that.
Yeah, you didn't take pictures. So
guys, we cleaned out 2 closets this week and found our old camera. We bought our we bought a camera right when we got married, like so we could take it on the honeymoon and whatever. Found that camera, like I think the thing was like $500 when we bought it, and it's just useless. Like it's useless. I like almost just recycled it. I think I might try and give it away rather than recycling it, but like it's that level. It's go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, definitely don't recycle it. If you can't, I don't know how long have you and Justine been married for?
10 years.
10 years. But like, you know, if you can't find somebody who actually wants it to take pictures, I used to love taking apart cameras as a kid. Like that stuff is real cool.
Oh, interesting.
Digging into that. Maybe less cool as I don't know what type of camera it is, but
Polaroid.
Polaroid. Good camera to take on a honeymoon. Just constantly waiting for the pictures to develop.
Ryan Penner's asking, did I ever pull the headphone sharing move with Justine? Well, you may maybe you weren't on yet, Brian, but I was saying earlier that my taste and Justine's taste like don't overlap very much. So like music was not a big part of our courtship.
You weren't making each other like mixtapes?
There was a mixtape at one point. So I'll give you that. Anyways, we're in Showtime now. Let's
So no talk about mixtape. Showtime. All serious.
All serious. Sorry. There's nothing else to say about it. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Virtual Coffee Time, which is a midweek live stream of South Langley Church. My name is Dave, and above me on this side is Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the director of children's ministry here at South Langley Church and running the show behind the scenes. So if there's any issues, let me know. And I'm really hot right now because I just filmed 2 music videos before this because that's part of my life. And over here we have
Carolyn. And I am, South Langley is my church home, and I'm coming to you right now from Port Alberni on Vancouver Island because I'm over here visiting my son and my daughter-in-law and my little 4-month-old grandson.
I was running off when you and Dave were talking about how old he is, and I cannot believe that he's already 4 months old.
He is already 4 months old.
Amazing how fast time passes
during a pandemic.
I think Ingrid said all the kids will be so big when we all get back together, and yeah. I'm feeling that. Yeah. I saw one of our little girls from the church wandering around, and I was like, last time I saw you, you were like a baby in arms. And, I mean, not actually, but that's what it felt like. And you're walking now. Like, this is crazy. Like, what is going on?
Yep.
They grow fast.
Totally.
My baby just graduated high school, and I don't know how that happened.
Man, yeah. Oh, man.
Is she doing anything fun for... Oh, I was just going to continue with that. This seems like a great icebreaker. I was going to ask if she's doing anything fun for grad this year. I know a lot of things have been canceled.
Yeah, their in-person grad for their homeschool program's been canceled. So I know we're going to do something for her. Our family gets together the first week of August, and we've gotten the thumbs up from the people that rent us the house on Sprout Lake. Yes. And so we're going to do something as a family when we're all there. And and we'll see from there. It's a very I mean, when you graduate high school, it's a very unsettling time because your life has been the same basically as long as you can remember, and now all of a sudden you have all these decisions to make. Well, this year for all our grads, you throw in a pandemic, and planning becomes that much more difficult. So
yeah, totally.
Our message to her has been, you know what, just take time. There's no rush. Like, you can have some ideas, but you know, none of us can really make solid plans right now. And
yeah.
So.
Totally. Did you guys take advantage of the, was it a Krispy Kreme offer?
No, we didn't.
Probably wise.
Krispy Kreme is just, 5-6 blocks from us. They're on the North Delta side. We're on the Surrey side. And every time we went past, there was lineups. Like,
that's what I heard.
Through the mall parking lot. Like, people were sitting in line like for an hour. So no, we told her if she wanted a Krispy Kreme donut, we'd spring and we'd just, buy it after.
Yeah.
In fact, we'd get her a dozen.
I'll buy you a dozen.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, you can lead us in.
yeah, so just if you're watching this live, we'd love for you to interact. It's not just meant to be us talking. We want to interact as much as we can, and so you can comment in the YouTube chat. And so if you're on a computer or on the YouTube app, you should be able to find that pretty easily. That's the best spot because everyone can see your comments there. And then if that's not working for you, you can send a text. And Sarah, if you could put the number in, and that just comes to me, but I'll call it out on the air as it fits into the conversation. And what else? And post a picture of yourself doing virtual coffee time with your cup of coffee or tea or whatever,
or your bubbly. I don't know if Brian's out there drinking a bubbly today.
Drinking bubbly. I'd like to hear in the chat who is pro bubbly and who has taste buds.
Excuse me?
Guys, it doesn't taste like anything.
Okay, well, would you rather drink bubbly or like tonic water? Because I like both.
Well, not tonic water, but club soda.
Anything, yeah. Tonic water and club soda.
Club soda, for sure. For sure.
You don't like tonic water?
Well, I feel like tonic water is the kind of thing that goes with other beverages.
Oh, you can drink tonic water by itself.
Actually, I've seen coffee shops serve like espresso and tonic, and I tried it, and I think it's weird.
I think that's weird too.
Why would you wreck a perfectly good beverage by adding tonic water to it?
Right.
Talia's
in for bubbly.
Ingrid is bubbly. I've got the good people on my side.
Like it makes. I feel like bubbly makes me feel like it's like the shadow of a flavor.
Oh, that's what I like about it.
I want either no flavor or flavor.
No.
Yeah. No.
It is like a great amount of flavor for me.
Yeah.
I'm also the type of person who like gets juice and like 3/4 like waters it down with water. Waters it down. But like I'll like pour myself like 1/4 of a cup of juice and then like 3/4 water.
Mm-hmm.
So
quarter of a cup of cranberry juice, 3/4 of a cup of your water from your soda stream. Perfect drink.
That's good.
Okay. Should we do like one of these? You want to do one of these?
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Icebreaker. We have a slide for it and everything, Dave.
Okay, here comes an icebreaker, and if you like, you thought that the bubbly discussion was the icebreaker, but
no, that's just laying.
No, that was serious business.
If you're in the chat, or if you want to text in an answer, you can answer this question. We'll all answer it on the air as well, and it's random and has nothing to do with anything.
It's random from the middle of the box.
From the middle, to bother Sarah. If you could be a foreign ambassador, which country would you choose?
Oh. I feel like
right now I'm not leaving Canada.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like I would do like not boring, but like kind of stereotypical. Like I'd be like, oh, Australia or New Zealand, or
That's
like
what Christoph said.
It's something essentially
He said
just
that Christoph's is boring.
No, like, but I just
record.
mean like that seems like so like stereotypical. Like I wanna go somewhere that's fun and cool, but like not too far outside of my comfort zone.
You got to think about the politics too. You're not just moving there. You have to do the job.
Oh, okay.
You have to do the job of being the foreign ambassador. So, draw upon your knowledge of Canada's diplomatic relations with.
I mean, I don't actually know what Canada's diplomatic relations with Australia are like, but I do know that I like a number of their stances on things. So I'm gonna stick with Australia.
Okay.
And now that I'm the foreign ambassador to Australia, you guys can't be.
Oh, that's how it works. Well, I'm going to pick New Zealand because Australia has too many scary things. I don't like creepy crawlies, especially ones that can kill you. And New Zealand hasn't had any cases of COVID recently. They're basically COVID free. So I figure I'd be pretty safe going there. And I'm right close to Australia, so I could go visit Sarah.
Yep, great. Perfect.
And Australia does incredible research into autoimmune diseases. They're kind of a leading expert. So
Australia or New Zealand?
Australia does. But
Oh, okay.
So in New Zealand, I'd be close to them.
Right.
So I could
fly
over if I needed to see, like a top rheumatologist or something. So
perfect. I would welcome you to my land.
And then we could invite Christoph to come visit you.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I don't know how to surf, but he could teach me and you how to surf.
I have been surfing before.
Oh, excellent.
But Christoph is definitely better than me. So where are you being the foreign ambassador to, Dave?
Oh, man. I'm thinking France.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the food.
Yeah. Like Justine and I, when we dream of moving somewhere and like building a life elsewhere, which we're not seriously thinking of, but you have those daydream kind of talks. It's France, and yeah, would have to get a little bit better at French, but I feel like like that's a country that I think Canada probably has a pretty good relationship with, and
NATO allies. No, not NATO. What's the European one?
The European one.
We're allies with them.
I don't know.
I don't know.
My grandma brain's kicked in. I just use that as an excuse now.
That's good.
Anyways, but I think it would work well because like some of the stuff that we like, Justine actually reads a lot about France, and they have a lot of stuff about like the land matters to them, right? Like, and so if you get like like their food is highly regulated. You can't say you can't say that I don't know, whatever, like champagne is, if champagne isn't from this exact region, whatever, like that kind of stuff. They care about the heritage of it. They care about the land, the terroir is the word, right? And about traditions, and so like the things that they have around food, around like their like cheese making, their produce, we actually really like it, and I think it fits with our values of food, which and we have values of food, like, so yeah, there would be some connection there, I think, in terms of values.
I just realized I couldn't do New Zealand, actually. I'd have to do Sweden. They don't have hockey in New Zealand.
Oh.
No.
That makes the decision for me right there. No
really?
Hockey. No hockey, can't go there.
So if you move to another country, you're not going to just watch the NHL, you're going to watch whatever local hockey they have?
Oh no, I would watch NHL, but they don't have hockey culture in New Zealand.
They just don't have, yeah.
I wouldn't imagine. Whereas Sweden,
they do hockey.
We have lots of our boys are from Sweden, so.
This is true. Hey, yeah, Ingrid. Yeah, great books by Peter Mayle on living in Provence. I think
Provence.
Justine may have read all of those, and we're assuming that all of France is exactly like that. So it's just all just vineyards and baguettes and bicycle rides. That's the entire nation.
Oh, the tour. I could come visit you, and I could go watch the tour in France.
Yes, I would love that. I'll come visit as well, Dave. That's one of the only sporting events that I grew up watching.
You're a biking fan, Sarah?
Only the tour, yeah. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't know there was others.
Yeah, that's one of the only things that like I can remember like getting like my dad, I don't know if he's temporarily in the chat. I'll take this moment to say a quick shout out to my niece and nephew. Hi Mike and Gabby, you're on YouTube. Let's go.
Hi Mike and Gabby.
Let's
Hi,
go
Mike and Gabby.
fishing for sharks later. But yeah, no, I can like my parents would always like PVR it since it was
Yep.
up like way too early in the morning.
Yes.
And yeah, we'd watch it, and so I don't have cable anymore, but I'll sometimes put a stream on to watch it when it's time.
Yeah.
I grew up watching biking and curling and a little bit of football. And probably hockey, but I don't remember watching hockey. But biking
really
and
funny to
curling.
me that I said bicycle rides and you guys went to like competitive, like the Tour de France did not even register for me.
Dave's like out there with his like basket.
I'm talking about the bicycle ride that you take to the farmer's market.
Right.
And you fill up your basket on the front of your bike. Yeah, with like grapes, cheese, baguettes, croissants,
farm butter.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you ride out like into a field and lay out one of those plaid blankets and have a picnic. That's the kind of bike ride I was talking about.
Right. Okay.
No, yeah, I'm not talking about some sort of hunched down like no way.
Like real that well I guess cycling.
It's like I don't care about cycling. I want a leisurely bicycle ride.
I can just imagine Dave with like a basket
that begins and ends with snacking.
All right.
Anyways.
All right.
Well, I think the ice is broken.
Karina asks, no soccer fans?
Yeah, Karina, where would you be the we should like put the next week I'll have to put the icebreaker on screen. Where would you be the foreign ambassador to? I guess Karina would be somewhere where there's soccer.
If you're looking for soccer, that's probably you got a lot of places you can pick from.
Yep.
You got a wider swath than hockey, that's for sure.
True.
Yeah. Alicia, yes, I've heard of Valley Food and Farm Collective. And yeah, we love that kind of stuff. Like local like the local food culture here in the Fraser Valley is not too bad, and it's one of the things that we love about it. Actually, we talked about this on a previous virtual coffee time. Something about what we loved about living where we live. Anyways. So should we talk about justice?
Wow. I just learned that Ingrid already speaks German. Ingrid says that she would live in Germany or Switzerland.
Half our church speaks German.
I'm still learning things, okay?
Okay.
I think that's so cool.
To speak German?
Yeah, I mean, I being a linguistics major, like it is a regular part of maybe not my week anymore, but at least once a month when people find out that I'm a linguistics major, they're like, "And how many languages do you speak?" And my answer is, I barely speak English. None. I barely speak English. But so I always find it fascinating when I find out people can speak other languages.
Yep, good for you, Ingrid. It's good for your brain too. Yeah, so justice? Yeah?
Justice.
Jump into our first question?
Well, sure. Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Or do you want to give a recap?
I'll just recap quickly.
I never know what to put on screen during the recap. Do I spoil the first question? Do I leave the icebreaker on screen?
Can you put nothing?
No, because you don't give me a blank nothing slide.
Blank nothing slide.
I'm gonna leave the icebreaker slide up there.
So on Sunday we were talking about Jesus' fourth beatitude, where he says, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied." Some Bibles say righteousness, and the word dikaiosune in Greek. I don't know the Hebrew word off by heart. But basically the idea of righteousness in the Bible is also like it's one word that means righteousness and justice, because they're not separate things in the Bible. You're not viewed as theologically righteous or righteous before God unless you're actually a just person. And we talked about how it's justice in the Bible, or righteousness, means that it's a relational term, that you've honored the relationship with the other person, whether it's our relationship with God or with another person. And then we took a bit of a tour. We kind of spent we didn't really talk that much about the Beatitude. We just talked mostly about this idea of justice / righteousness. And took a little bit of a tour, looked at the Cain and Abel story, and how that story tells us that we owe people, like what it's trying to push on us is that we are our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper. That's supposed to be our disposition toward each other. And then looked at slavery in Egypt and how God liberates his people, and then he tells them, remember you were slaves as you're setting up this new nation. Remember that you were slaves, remember that you were foreigners, and so don't oppress people. And they did oppress people, and much of it was in the name of religion, which is really sad. And so the story of the nation of Israel in a lot of ways is just a story of failures of justice. And then they eventually got conquered and subjugated by a string of empires. And Jesus comes along and he says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, they will be satisfied. And that was not true for those guys. It was true it's true in a larger sense, because the kingdom of heaven was dawning, beginning with Jesus. And in the kingdom, and the idea is the kingdom of heaven is a place of justice, and so there's justice for all. So that's kind of what we talked about on Sunday, which was a lot of stuff, but obviously very kind of relevant for this moment, and gives us kind of a starting point, I think, to say how do we engage in this justice conversation that our society is going through. And we can engage in it. I don't really like it when people use this terminology, but we can engage in it kind of using human wisdom, or we can come to it in a way that's shaped by our faith tradition. And maybe this is a starting point for how we can come to this conversation in a way that's shaped by our faith tradition. Does that make sense?
I think so, yes.
Sorry, that was a lot.
It was big.
Yeah. So had a good talk on Sunday, and we debriefed a little bit after the service, but we didn't get to the reflection questions, and there's a bunch of them. Maybe we'll just throw that first question up, and we can talk about it.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, Karina says faith tradition or biblical worldview, and that's an interesting question, actually. I think, Karina, I would say, like, the reason why I would use the word faith tradition is that every faith tradition would claim to have the biblical worldview a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we can maybe faith tradition, I guess, is a more whatever conciliatory way to say it is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Anyways, first question.
Our first question is, do I feel an inner hunger and thirst for justice? Why or why not?
Yeah, so So people in the chat, do feel free to weigh in on these, and we'll kind of talk them through as well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, guys? Do you feel that hunger and thirst for justice? Why or why not?
Well, I think we I think we all feel the desire for justice. I touched on this a little bit Sunday during our foyer conversation, but it seems to be something that is like the desire for justice is something that's kind of like built in to us at a very like young age. You know, we always hear kids talk about like, oh, that's fair, that's not fair, whatever. And so I think we all want what we think is justice. And so, or, you know, but the question of do we hunger and thirst for, like, again, like biblical justice or like justice for all people. I know that I think I do. Yes. It pains me when I you know, watch things on TV or see injustice happening.
Yeah. You know, Alicia's throwing this thing in here in the comments. I think the fact that my privileged position leaves me blind to need hinders my awareness for justice and therefore hunger for it. Exposure fuels the hunger. Yeah, right? Like, I think, and what you're saying, Sarah, is like we all, in theory, we are all, no one's anti-justice, or the majority of us aren't. But like, you know, I'm just thinking like we have this, like using the language of hunger and thirst, like physical hunger and thirst. Like we have a hormone, I think it's called ghrelin, that like our body produces when we're lacking like physical fuel, which causes us to like it's a physical reminder like that our body reminds us and actually becomes hungry, right? Is there an equivalent here? I don't know that we have that equivalent, or what would be the equivalent. Do you get what I'm saying? What would prompt us to feel the hunger and thirst?
Well, so Karina has said here that, you know, it's something that C.S. Lewis also said, that we're innately given the ability to see right and wrong as a mark of the peace of eternity in our hearts.
Yeah. So it's there, but we have this kind of numbness, right? Carolyn, what do you think?
Well, I think sometimes our ideas of justice are so convoluted as human beings. We tend to feel that which affects us.
Yeah.
And so I think often if it affects us, then, oh yeah, we want justice. When it doesn't affect us is often the time when we ought to want justice, but we don't even see it. I think just an example, growing up in Canada is, I was telling Sarah and Dave before we started, like my family is like, you know, I don't know how many generation Canadian. Like we've been here forever. We're from Northern Europe, so we're rather privileged in a lot of areas. And I remember growing up I grew up on the island, so it wasn't like I was not exposed to Canadians' Indigenous people, but the lack of justice for them never affected me. Because it wasn't part of my experience, like what, you know. And then my brother-in-law, of my youngest sister, he's a history guy, taught at Trinity, he teaches at North Island College, and his area of expertise is the Indigenous people in Canada. And as I started to learn from him, and I started to understand what had gone on in the past, like, I mean, I grew up going to school. I don't think, maybe I did, and maybe I just conveniently forgot. I don't think I ever heard about residential schools when I
Mm-hmm.
was in school. Now, that was, many years ago now. um, and so, our ideas of justice change too as we learn and grow as people, and we start to see, as children are, you know, that's not what you said, Sarah. That's not fair, because that's what affects us as children.
Yeah.
And as we grow, hopefully we begin to see the world through different eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important for us as people, but especially as Christians, to listen to other people's stories, see the world through their eyes, and
Yeah.
begin to see where perhaps we didn't even know there was injustice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm just like thinking of this question, like, and I'm curious, Dave. I don't know how this word affects, but like, are there, the word in the original text, like, is it um, like a communal sense? I'm just thinking, like, like it's kind of sound like we're saying, like, we all hunger and thirst for justice, but maybe we often think of just like the hunger and thirst for justice that we naturally default to is what impacts us. Like, I want to be taken care of. I deserve things. I deserve. I deserve justice. But once it doesn't affect me, maybe I could take it or leave it. I kind of become immune to it. Where the feeling I get from the text is that, like, this is like a hunger and thirst for justice, like, around the world, or for others. Like, so I wasn't sure if this is like if there's any like suffixes, or I'm not sure how the Greek marks it, but like that would denote it as like a plural sense of the word justice, or a multi-person or something like that. Because there seems to be a difference between, like, personal justice, like self-serving justice, versus caring about justice for others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything in the text that makes that distinction, although that's an important distinction. But I wonder
if just because of the I think, well, didn't you, like, just because of the culture of the time, if people would have heard that and just been like, oh, this is a community thing.
Yeah. And I think maybe people then wouldn't have been so radically individualized
Mm-hmm.
as we are now, right? And so now we have all these, and I'm not necessarily saying this is bad or good, but like now, with kind of identity politics, we have all these kind of micro groups of people. I think probably in Jesus' day, the main, there would be more just kind of the distinction he would be making would be the powerful and the powerless.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And if you wake, like, are you taking taxes from someone, or are you paying taxes to someone? That would kind of be the distinction. And so you would wake up every morning and be very clear about which of the groups, and so all your neighbors, like your whole village, would be the oppressed group, right? Does that make sense? Is that helpful in any way?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, and Alicia's saying here, yeah, in a collectivist worldview,
Mm-hmm.
it likely would have been inherently communal. So I think, yeah, and the other thought that I had was, I think, yeah, in the Bible, when it talks about justice, it's probably referring to justice for everyone. Not just I want justice for myself, because they're a collectivist culture, a less individualized culture than us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To move on to the next question?
Sure.
Where am I choosing indifference over engagement, like Cain?
Yeah, so just to recap, we saw the Cain and Abel story, how there's this extra layer. Like, it's like Cain tries to justify himself by saying, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And in other words, like Cain knows he shouldn't have murdered his brother, but he believes what he owed him was just indifference. Like, baseline was just indifference. And what the story is pushing us to see is we owe each other more than just indifference. Yeah. So and that's the challenge of the story, is that because we tend to be indifferent to people.
Mm-hmm. I shared this with you earlier, Dave, but I think this is, maybe a time to bring it up. And, this is something that's been bothering me, and I suspect others people as well, but like where the line, I like how I said it to you. I'm going to try to see if I can find the conversation. One thing that I've been struggling with is like knowing where the line between like indifference and taking care of your own mental health, like where that line falls. Like, I have been lately like feeling very guilty, like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm, I should be doing more. I should be getting more involved. And something that we've been working on in counseling is, sometimes you do have to like prioritize your own needs. And you just may not be in a place to mentally handle like getting more and then I'm saying that out loud, and already I'm like, why, man, like that comes from such a place of privilege that I could like say, oh, I want to protect my own mental health before getting involved. And so that's like, this has been something that's very like pressing, like feels very urgent for me, like trying to figure out like what can I do that's not gonna put my mental health like in harm, and yet still not be like prioritizing my own needs over the needs of the others, or yeah. So this feels like a very real question to me right now.
What do you think, Carolyn?
That is, hey, Sarah, if you find the answer to that question,
right?
Send it my way, right? Like, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road, to use an old saying, right? Like, okay, so I see all this injustice, but what can I do about it? What can I handle? And I think part of that comes again from our Western culture. We're all about action. We're all about fixing, and that's not necessarily bad, but it's also not necessarily what we're called to do in every situation. I've been thinking this whole justice thing because, well, it's so real right now with everything going on in the world. And what I keep coming back to, and I don't know if it really relates, but oh well, is that our God is a God of justice, yet he is so merciful to us. And what does his mercy to us, what did it cost him? Because his justice had to be satisfied, right? We're sinners. And so him showing true justice to us meant it cost him his son. Justice is incredibly costly to everyone involved. And I think sometimes we forget that, we think of justice and we think, okay, we want the bad people punished and we want the good people to get good things. And then, God enters the story and he says, oh, I'm going to just throw that on its head. And I'm going to show mercy. And I think that's where we get this struggle, because we feel like in every situation we should do something, and then we feel helpless. And I think that's got a lot to do with kind of the angst everyone is feeling as we watch situations emerge around the world. I mean, for some people, they're obviously going to be much more real. The white girl that grew up in Canada, what do I know about what people in the world, some of the situations we see? What I can do is I can listen and I can try to learn. I can listen with respect and without judgment. And I can show mercy because God showed me mercy. Doesn't really answer your question, but that's kind of what's been going on up here.
No, some really good.
After days of, witnessing what we've been witnessing.
Well, Dave, on Sunday, for those of you who weren't joining us in the foyer, I would really encourage you, if you have the time on a Sunday afternoon after church ends, we had a really morning. Right? That is true. That is the morning. It felt like the afternoon on Sunday because we had a really great conversation and it went on for quite a while. But at the end, Dave kind of put us, Christoph and I, on the spot and saying, "What's your takeaway?" And in that moment, I had like this revelation. It's something that Alicia has touched on in the comments here. But so she says it seems like something that only you would be able to truly know, not something that somebody else would be able to prescribe where the line between indifference is. And in our conversation on Sunday, I had this just real sense of peace, hey, God knows whether there's indifference in my heart. I've been involved in a lot of conversations where people have been accusing Christians of being indifferent or not taking action. And that's really been weighing on me. And it's you know what? No, God knows. God knows where I'm at and what's going on. He knows the whole picture. But also, the little steps that I can take are okay. And so for my takeaways from that conversation was I can influence, again, those people are in my circles, either family members or people who I interact with who see things in a different light than I do. I can engage them graciously in conversation and try to have some patience there. Or even in the kids that I work with and talk to, we can talk about what they're seeing and how they're interpreting what's going on. And there's been a few cases where it's let's actually clear up some confusion from just what they see, because so many kids these days they see it everywhere too. They I think my niece and nephew may still be watching, but they've got Instagram accounts and they are seeing posts and kids are on in the room when the news channel is on, and so they're seeing things. And so as somebody who works with kids, oh, that's something I can do. I can engage that conversation. And that doesn't, for me, feel as, as meaningless as sometimes posting something on social media or kind of as hollow as that feels. But it also doesn't require me to go, for me, I don't feel comfortable going to a big rally or a big protest, just due to my own personal anxieties and life experiences. But those are steps that I can take to influence the circles. And so that was a really big kind of revelation for me Sunday morning, not afternoon. But as we were talking about it, like, and it just came with this sense of peace. Like, God knows. He knows where my heart's at. And it's enough.
Yeah, Ingrid had a good comment here. She says, I think we have lots of opportunity to engage in the places God has put us. My place is in healthcare and choosing to engage with the needs of the marginalized there. And I think that's so true. We often forget we are where God has put us. And yeah, those are the lives that we can affect, and we can help walk through this, difficult time.
It like, it's reminding me of this thing from Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't remember which habit it's from, but he has this thing about, like, your circle. I think it's from that book. Your circle of control and your circle of influence. Your circle of concern and your circle of influence. And we tend to have this big circle of concern, like we're worried about a whole bunch of stuff, but our circle of influence is actually very small. And so he has this whole piece saying, like, things that you can't control, kind of don't worry about them. Like, it's been a few years, but kind of saying, can you shrink your circle of concern? Not that you don't care about things, but that you don't let the anxiety over all this stuff overwhelm you, right? And I think that's what we're feeling right now as a society over justice, is that people are so people are so frantic to change everything, and in some cases maybe rightly so, but yeah, we're letting our anxiety grow to this huge size versus saying, okay, these are the things that, like, this is where I exist. If you're a Christian, this is where God has placed me, is what you would say, and what can I do here? Yeah, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Brian, were you reading that book recently? Anyways.
Or you could just Google it. I Googled it. It's like
interesting.
It looks like a target, circle of concern, and then the smaller circle is circle of influence, and then the smallest circle is circle of control.
So circle of control. So there's 3.
There's 3, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so everyone, we just saved you reading probably a really long chapter. That book is so long. It's so good, but so long. Anyways, should we maybe pop into the next question?
Next question, and is this? I'm trying to read ahead. Is this going to be a good wrap-up question?
Oh man!
Or do we?
Yeah, we're running out of time. Here, hang on. Let's pick one. I'm gonna sneak ahead and.
Okay.
Or do you want to pick one?
No, I don't. I joked this morning. I said, Dave, are we including all 62 questions? Usually, Dave, at the end of your sermons, you give us 3, maybe 4 questions, and there was 6 this week. So such good questions, and questions that we need to be talking about. And this is my second time delving into this conversation, and I appreciate it more every time.
Let's why not talk about this Pharaoh question?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. Where am I living in fear of what I don't understand, like the Pharaoh, rather than being open to learning? And my first thought that pops up is, again, if you're on social media, I think I've mainly seen it on Facebook, but there's this great little comic that's going around that's like, it's okay to change your mind. I think it's, again, talking about the Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, and it's just this little comment where comic where this character is holding a Black Lives Matter sign, and the guy comes in and says, oh well, all lives matter, and then there's a dialogue back and forth about that, And at the end, he's like, "Oh, okay, I've changed my mind." And it, it's just a commentary on how, like, let's be big enough to, to occasionally say that we were wrong.
Honestly,
and to learn more.
How much farther would we be down the road if we would just do that? Just do, just listen to each other with humility or with maybe meekness, going back to last week.
Yeah.
And drop our, like, put our swords and shields down. I mean that metaphorically.
I'm really, like, in general, that's something that, I'm really bad at. Saying, thankfully, I'm not one to speak up very much if I don't have a pretty, like, good, or what I think is a good grasp on something or good understanding about something.
Yeah.
But in the little things in life, I'm really bad at at changing, trying to get better at that.
Yeah, and just to recap a little bit from Sunday, like the idea here was, this question comes out of Exodus 1, where like the Israelites are living in Egypt. A new Pharaoh rises up who doesn't know the Israelites. He doesn't know about their ancestry and Joseph and how they were a helpful presence in Egypt, and he fears them. That's what it says, and it says because of that he enslaves them. And so here's this moment when, man, like they. Oh, hi, Rosie. Night, Rosie. Sorry. Here's this moment where, like that could have been like such a fruitful relationship. In fact, these two people groups had a fruitful relationship. Joseph, their ancestor, had saved Egypt. But just because of this, the Pharaoh's unwillingness or inability to get to understand the other, and to do the hard work of forging a good relationship, it led to this terrible oppression. But I think of it, and in the ancient world, rulers tended to kind of be like, no one would challenge a ruler, right? And rulers kind of almost were set up to not learn. Does that make sense? Like they were set up to be seen as this person who knew you would lose, because they would kind of lose face if they admitted that they didn't know something. And like everything about ancient manners was even set up so that if you asked, like if you're trying to talk with them, you would do it in a deferential way where you didn't point out that they didn't know something. Anyways, so like they were like, what I'm saying is the Pharaoh like would have been in a position where everything was stacked toward not having the humility that is needed for learning. But the truth is, we're kind of that way too, right? Like the Pharaoh, I think, felt this burden to present himself as this all-knowing person who doesn't need to learn anything. And for us today, we're kind of that way too, because if you're like no one's, we're not set up to be honest about our own ignorance and need for learning, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right?
Our default position always seems to be us and them. Whoever the us is. So whether it's, Christians and non-Christians, immigrants and citizens, like pick any issue and there's this us and them. Our politics is us and them. And it's one of the interesting things that I've observed in BC during this pandemic is, to a large extent, it seems to me the us and them in provincial politics has been a little bit set aside, right? They're working together on this. I see people in the opposition saying, yes, the health minister is doing a great job. And it's like, wow, like that doesn't happen usually. And And look how BC's response to the pandemic has been compared to other jurisdictions. And I wonder if that's partly because we haven't defaulted to this us and them. And even
Right.
Dr. Henry's talked about it. I read a fascinating article on her career last week, and it talked about where she, if you watch her press conferences, you know, she has her be kind. We don't want to assume other people are breaking the rules. We don't know what's going on in their lives. She's very much an other, you know, let's not make this about us and them. And how she learned that was when she was doing pandemic response in Africa for an Ebola outbreak. And what she learned from that was to give people the information, give them all the information you have, tell them the best way forward, and most of the people will make the right decisions. And that's been her thing in BC. And at the press conferences, she continually gets asked, well, what about these people that are all going to the beach and they shouldn't be there? You know, why aren't we ticketing them? Or why aren't we punishing them? Because that would be justice. And her thing is, no, let's work with the people that where we give them the information, let's expect them to make the right decisions. And she's really crafted this message of inclusion, and it seems to have worked. And do we have a lesson that we can learn from that? It's not us and them. It's, in whatever the issue is, it's us. So let's sit down, let's listen. I think that's the other thing in our society we do way too much of. We talk too much and we don't listen enough.
Yeah. That's so good. I feel like that might be a good place to leave it, because we're after 12 already. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. And Carolyn, we want to thank you for coming on and for your thoughts. Appreciate it. Thanks for taking some time out of grandma time.
Grandma time, yeah.
Yeah. And to everyone who's joining us on YouTube, either live or who's watching this back later, thanks for your interactions. We will be live Sunday morning, 10 a.m. for our live stream service, and then stick around afterwards, and you can have a similar thing to this, but with a bunch more people as we debrief Sunday's teaching. Guys, big treat on Sunday.
Ooh.
This Sunday, you get a break from me. Wes is coming back. Wes Dahl. This Sunday.
Fun.
So there you go. And you heard it here first. This is the debut of that information.
Debut. We should have had a trailer or something. A promo reel.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you on Sunday.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.